In London, 1895. It is strange to remember, and yet it was surely my good fortune, that though I heard the teachings of my master, the Swami Vivekananda, on both the occasions of his visits to England, in 1895 and 1896, I yet knew little or nothing of him in private life until I came to India in the early days of 1898. For as the fruit of this want of experience I have it, that at each step of his self-revelation as a personality, my master stands out in my memory against his proper background of Indian forest, city, and highway, an Eastern teacher in an Eastern world. Even in far-away London indeed, the first time I saw him, the occasion must have stirred in his mind as it does in mine, recalling it now, a host of associations connected with his own sun-steeped land. The time was a cold Sunday afternoon in November, and the place, it is true, a West End drawing-room. But he was seated, facing a half-circle of listeners, with the fire on the hearth behind him, and as he answered question after question, breaking now and then into the chanting of some Sanskrit text in illustration of his reply, the scene must have appeared to him, while twilight passed into darkness, only as a curious variant upon the Indian garden, or on the group of hearers gathered at sundown round the sadhu who sits beside the well, or under the tree outside the village bounds. Never again in England did I see the Swami as a teacher in such simple fashion. Later, he was always lecturing, or the questions he answered were put with formality by members of larger audiences. Only this first time we were but 15 or 16 guests, intimate friends, many of us, and he sat amongst us in his crimson robe and girdle, as one bringing us news from a far land, with a curious habit of saying now and again, "Shiva, Shiva!" and wearing that look of mingled gentleness and loftiness that one sees on the faces of those who live much in meditation, that look perhaps that Raphael has painted for us on the brow of the Sistine Child. That afternoon is now 10 years ago, and fragments only of the talk come back to me. But never to be forgotten are the Sanskrit verses that he chanted for us in those wonderful Eastern tones, at once so reminiscent of and yet so different from the Gregorian music of our own churches.